Trinidad people. In the 23 years, Belly King, La Ruta Maya history. Who are the baddest partner who ever see? Berries. Who? Berries. Yo, I see why this alongside the swingers.
Monkey Mike.
Who might win the battle? But I will win the war. We can do, look out that Kevlar. The burn is done. One time. There we go. Fisher. Brand new. Rastabira is the people's champion. Now he likes Pac-Man, Rastabira, make they know that just so
T Mike.
Ayo,
Oh,
yeah, man.
get to that boy before me.
Yeah, man. No sweat.
Alive still.
Alive already?
Alive, but you probably die, the black eyes that come up on time.
Alright.
So we pull up on the background still.
Come on.
Now 2 minutes, make a do one come on. If I run out of it.
One man in a canoe to be ruling the Maya. So when he pass sidekicks could not handle the pressure. Even when the boat it, we still no go under. We know we take over. Last year we know we beat Japan or the one they from China. We have fans all over. Bunga Razal and Riga. CY and Francis that we sponsor. Living up this stamina. We see a banana. Could I win this race in one hour? No come. We know we bash like the unknown star. They go back when the battle is the water. No retreat, no suffering. To a million people, there's something we remember. We don't follow trend. We that trendsetter. Definition after Rastabira. Rastabira is the people's champion. I realize Pac-Man, Rastabira, make they know that just so we function. That's just one organic conception. Rastabira moving like an army of one. People's champion. I realize Pac-Man, Rastabira, make they know that just so we function. That's just one organic conception. Rastabira moving like an army of one. The babies is a great thing. Major props to Belly King. Thanks to all the love where we get from Love FM. But this is a warning to the cheap pretender. To get in the river with me if you can't swim. Next year I'm back again. This time we'll swim. All the nation prize, including the bull reporting. It's amazing when the bell ring. We want to know they try to hang on like static cling. That's the way the people's champion. Now he likes Pac-Man, Rastabira, make they know that just so we function. That's just one organic conception. Rastabira moving like an army of one.
All right.
Yes, Mr. G.
Yeah, man.
Greetings, my brother. How things?
Greetings. Everything drying out a bit in Belize and looking better. A little cool temperature. Of course, we're awaiting the arrival of our other panelists. I'm sure those guys will be here. I figured they would have been early tonight, given the grievous nature of the matter that we're dealing with. Well, the significance of this, the Constitution of Belize, will be discussed this evening at length. Whether we should reform, amend, just get rid of totally. We'll have to see what the consensus is at the end of the evening. Of course, the Belize Constitution reads that whereas the people of Belize affirm that the nation of Belize shall be founded upon principles which acknowledge the supremacy of God, faith in human rights and fundamental freedoms, the position of the family in a society of free men and free institutions, the dignity of the human person, and the equal and inalienable rights with which all members of the human family are endowed by their Creator. Respect for the principles of social justice, and therefore believe that the operation of the economic system must result in the material resources of the community being so distributed as to subserve the common good, that there should be adequate means of livelihood for all, that the labor should not be exploited and forced by economic necessity to operate in inhumane conditions, but that there should be opportunity for advancement on the basis of recognition of merit, ability, and integrity. That equal protection should be given to children regardless of their social status, with, and that a just system should be ensured to provide for education and health on the basis of equality. Uh, this is a preamble actually to the Constitution. Believe that the will of the people shall form the basis of government in a democratic society in which the government is freely elected by universal adult suffrage, and in which all persons may, to the extent of their capacity, play some part in institutions of national life, and thus develop and maintain due respect for lawfully constituted authority. Recognize that men and institutions remain free only when freedom is founded upon respect for moral and spiritual values and upon the rule of law. Require policies of state which protect and safeguard the unity, freedom, sovereignty, and territorial integrity of Belize, which eliminate economic and social privilege and disparity among the citizens of Belize, whether by race, ethnicity, color, creed, disability, or sex, which ensures gender equality, which protect the rights of the individual to life, liberty, basic education, basic health, the right to vote in elections, the right to work, and the pursuit of happiness, which protect the identity, dignity, and social and cultural values of Belizeans, including Belize's indigenous people, which preserve the right of the individual in the ownership of private property and the right to operate private businesses, which prohibit the exploitation of man by man or by state, which ensure a just system of social security and welfare, which protect the environment, which promote international peace, security, and cooperation among nations, and establish of a just and equitable international economic and social order in the world with respect for international law and treaty obligations in the dealing among nations. Desire that their society shall reflect and enjoy the above mentioned principles, belief, and needs, and that the Constitution should therefore enshrine and make provisions for ensuring the achievement of the same in Belize. Now, that sets the stage for the Constitution. They are now discussing on Channel 7 as we speak on the news the the violation of the Constitution as it pertains to Section 90. Section 90 states in A, each electoral division shall have as nearly as may be an equal number of persons eligible to vote. And the contention, of course, is that Fort George has about almost 10 times Sand Creek South has 10 times as much as Fort George in number of voters, which is unconstitutional and might suggest that it has to be remedied, or elections are not democratic and free and fair. Something has to be done to that ASAP. as soon as possible. George sent me something on an article that was written by I believe it was by Anthony Chanona, and it looks like it was printed in a Reporter. He is saying, and maybe I should find that letter, because he's saying that they're thinking that instead of the recommendation coming out of the committee established to review the Constitution, instead of that recommendation go to the people for instead of that going to the people for a referendum, that in fact the entire body of what they're coming with should be put to the people and let them vote on that, as opposed to just vote on whether they should have a reform or not. I
don't drama either, man.
Why a lot of thing to go on with that. Make us see where the thing where Jazz might be sent from it. Okay. It's not coming up. Who did, man? Anybody come in yet? If it's saved, then it should be open. All right. Draft Constitution needs to go to referendum. People's Constitution Commission Chairman. He believes that people should be made to vote on a draft constitution and not just a summary of the People's Constitution Commission report.
Amen.
PCC Chairman Anthony Chanona told the Reporter Thursday. All right, Leonard, because did you see this yet?
No, sir.
Let me run a little part of it because it goes to exactly what you were saying. Chanona, who says the PCC Act can benefit from some amendments, underscored the fact that the current language of Section 22 of the Act is not clear as to what the end product of the process will be in terms of what will go to referendum. The law is broad, Chanona admonished. This is a concern because at the end of this process and after all resources have been expended, the product from the PCC should be beyond all doubt. It goes on and on. I'm going to have to send that to you. I don't have a WhatsApp, and he sent it to me WhatsApp, and I was sending it WhatsApp to everybody else. So,
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I so happen to be far ahead of that particular. As a matter of fact, that particular part of the thing that Mr. Chanona made reference to was deliberately set out to be as such, so that later on, if nobody had caught up to it, as Mr. Chanona did, that later on, farther down the process, it would have been made public that would have been the desire and or the intent. But gladly, Mr. Chanona, being in the position that he is, was the person that caught up with it and or is amenable to, put it out there in writing.
All right,
I'm grateful for that because.
Let's welcome George. Because George is here, and George is the man at this point who's closer to the whole process than we are, being a member of the committee set up to reform this constitution. Good evening, George.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chairman.
I
think that one of the things is I am not that electronically savvy, as you all know, and so I could send to WhatsApp. I don't know if Leonard is on Messenger.
I am.
But I will try to find a way to send things to him on Messenger. That is in the Reporter, and I think it's not the Reporter that dates back to December. We had our meeting on the 14th of December, so it would probably be that week. I don't remember what day we had that meeting. It was a Monday, or if it's early in the week, then it would probably be in the Reporter of that week. If it's not, if it was late in the week, then it would probably be in the Reporter of the following week. But it's in the Reporter, Mr. Chanona's interview.
Can I ask
go ahead. Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Are reporters present in the meetings? Is that how they are able to report on that, or is that something that Shanuna gave to them as the chairman of the committee?
Well, two things. The press is a part of the process. So the press is represented by one of Jules' guys. I don't remember his name right now, and somebody else from the press. But also, the press is kind of invited to interview who they may. So it's not state secret. Mr. Chanoa's comments came out of inputs that were made within the meeting that the process should be that the work of the commission does not end when the report goes into the political directorate. It should last up until the referendum. There should be, Leonard had used the word plebiscite. I wasn't sure what it meant. I saw it before, but I wasn't sure what it meant. But it needs to go to the people. And I think that may be in the act itself. But Mr. Chanona is basically saying that when it is handed to the politicals, the committee does not want the political directorate to do what they will with those recommendations. Those recommendations need to live beyond the commission handing it to them. What needs to go to the people effectively is what the commission produces. That is the gist of it. You do not want it to be diluted or to be thwarted or eroded by
yeah, it broke up there.
Mr. Mabit, is it possible? Is it possible for you to give me a chance to interject, or you're still in the process? You're still in the process.
So that when I make my presentation, I could be seen making my 5 or 6 minutes presentation, on the subject, because I don't want to lock off and then just be articulating things, because I have some notes that I had intended to refer to. On a procedural note, Mr. Chair, I believe that Mr. Captain Sanchez.
No, he'll not.
Yes,
He'll not be making it this week. Yeah, he was Captain Sanchez was supposed to come in. CY spoke to him and was trying to arrange the appearance. He begged out because he had some unforeseen problem come up there, and he's asking that he could do it next week instead. So CY has made arrangements for him to do it next week. In fact, I was hesitant in the beginning because we wanted to cover this constitutional thing. No, I know you felt that he would have given an input. He certainly has been vocal on the issue of governance in Belize for a long time. He has been off the scene for about a decade or so, having moved back to Canada where he lived most of the time. But he certainly was involved. In fact, he was sharing with me a letter that he had sent to George Price in 1953. So that will tell you how long that gentleman has been. He's now 88 years old, and just a storehouse of information that we could probably pick his brain and see where he's coming from. I don't know that we will agree on everything he says. I certainly have not agreed with everything he says, but certainly would be interesting. And you have, when you meet an elder like that, willing to sit and chat, you kind of like smart enough to listen, no? So,
Mr. Chairman, on what Mr. Mabit was intimating a little earlier, I'd like to say that there are practices and procedures that should be abided by in order to achieve this grand scheme and objective of revamping and or eviscerating the current constitution in favor of something else. normally what the committee or the referendum, not referendum, what the Reform Constitutional Committee would be dealing with should be such that they would be providing something that is comparable and or replacing what you'd call the preamble to a constitution. And basically, when they originally sat down to discuss the Constitution of Belize as it would have turned out as we have it today, there were people from all political sways that were allowed the opportunity at the high levels, of course, just as it's being done right now, to participate in that process. And those people were the people that spoke on behalf of the country and on behalf of the people of Belize when they said in the preamble, we, the people of Belize, at that point presumably representing the people of Belize. So therefore, this committee would be seen in that light as representing the people of Belize, which is why it was chosen and allowed to be so wide and all-encompassing. So I agree with Mr. Chanona as well as Mr. Maibi's perspective. That is that whatever comes out of that committee should be the essence of whatever constitutional changes occur. And then being a representation of the people would then either supplement and or replace our current preamble.
Tell me
That is,
something.
if they're going to change the constitution to a new constitution, of course, which is what I'm contending is the desire.
What would you find wrong with the preamble? I read the preamble a few minutes ago.
That is my question. Oh, sorry. That has been my question ever since they started this process. Why is it that they want to arbitrarily and capriciously derogate from the current constitution when they have not abided by it and given us good governance under the present constitution? It is not the constitution that is stopping them from giving us good governance, and that is my vehement query.
Do you think they should tamper with the preamble or the entire constitution or none at all?
I asked the question just as you posed it earlier. What part of the preamble to the constitution is the current government and or the people instigating a change have a problem with?
But is it the preamble that they're trying to change or the constitution itself? I haven't heard. George, what do you know of that?
Okay, just a minute, sir. On that point, before you jump off, before we leave it, the assembly is empowered to make changes to certain sections of the current constitution. So it's not like they are being stopped from making changes, which is why they have to do the whole change of the constitution or eviscerate it in place of a new one. They can still do their job and make the changes required or needed under the present constitution and within the rules and regulations that the constitution demands. That is that anything that is done contrary to what the preamble stipulates and or where they're going to derogate the rights, derogate any rights. Let me just globalize the statement. Derogate any rights. They should have to go to the people through a plebiscite to get that authority, because that authority is vested in the people, not in the legislator. Even if they have 100% of the members of Congress that decide, or the House that decide on a particular issue, if that issue transgress the Constitution and the part of the Constitution that says that should not be transgressed, then they got to get that power from the people, which is why I'm saying that Mr. Maibit and Mr. Chanona is on the right track to say that whatever comes out of this particular committee is coming out as if it were a preamble or a amendment to the preamble or a constitutional new preamble. I don't know if they have the time to go all that way. Let me see.
Hold up, Mr. Brockett. Yeah, and we get your point. You see, I think you do us a disservice when you feel like you need to expound and clarify over and over again, because you it's kind of like making it seem that we don't get you what your point in a few words that you.
But I'm not just talking for us on the panel, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, yes, we are interacting with each other. I'm talking because people will look at this program later on and they'll have to parse what we are discussing.
And you're discrediting their intelligence also, because they can understand what you say when you say it, man. Let me some Ivy wait a minute say.
Please.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I am committed to changing my strategy tonight for two reasons. One, I was hoping that Captain Sanchez would to make it, because in my view, I believe that he would have been a gentleman that has valuable contribution to make. And so I have a prepared script that I was going to sort of consult as I make my delivery. And it should maybe be the better part of 10 minutes.
Okay.
And I would have asked you to perhaps hold queries and comments until I am through with that presentation. The other reason that I would not go into my original thoughts in terms of this presentation is that I was hoping that we would have had more people. I have to apologize to you, Mr. Chair, because I was supposed to send to you at least a couple names that I wanted us to send the link to. Because the four of us, yourself, Mr. Chair, Leonard, Mr. Morrison, and myself, we have dealt with this in bits and parts. And so, to some extent, it would almost be preaching to the converted, but a fair amount of my presentation would have been, in my view, new material. And it is structured to give us a brief historical perspective on attempts to have reform the Constitution before. My presentation will deal with the issue of whether in this present formulation, people's thought of an amendment of the Constitution or for a do-over of the Constitution. That is in my presentation.
Well, listen, how about we do that?
Yeah, sorry, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, how about we do that then? Are you still disposed to give us that 10-minute presentation, or however long it takes?
Not tonight, Mr. Chair. I would beg that perhaps we just do some. We could refer to the Constitution, but I almost think that we should. We could carry on with. I have a subtext of a presentation that I would generally refer to, but just the three of us, Mr. Morrison is really a keen intellect, and even if he has not read through or been as conversant with the Constitution as, for example, Leonard, he always makes informed and thought-provoking comments. So if nothing else, I would want him there. And I would also want Captain Sanchez and anybody else that we get. So like for tonight, I could just give a brief overview, and then I would maybe ask that maybe Leonard just give us some snippets into what his concerns might be, so that when we make the presentation next week, I could be aware that I could craft my presentation to perhaps either address some of his concerns and or to give him further to expound on what his concerns are. But for tonight, I would do a 3 minutes, Mr. Chair, just to give you, an idea of what it is that, because I don't think that tonight is the time to chew into the specifics of the Constitution. I really don't think so.
Not when we're short-handed like this, yeah.
I don't think so.
Yeah. Leonard, that all right with you? What do you think?
I don't have a problem, sir.
Yeah. Well, George, so that being what it is, then would you like us to then allow you 3 minutes to make a presentation, and then we just comment on it after that, after your presentation, and we could go off into arguments then thereafter?
Yeah, I would also like to perhaps suggest that maybe we could happen on another topic, because I don't think that there's enough information for us to have a real informed and involved discussion tonight. What I would say, Mr. Chair and Leonard, is that where we are right now is we will be crafting the committee, and I'm talking about the school here. The committee will be crafting a communication strategy. I had indicated to you gentlemen before that there will be a consultation process. The committee, at its next meeting, and this is not confidential, obviously, at its next meeting, will be crafting that strategy, and it will say when, who, where, and what people will be consulted on. We will also talk about the latest, we will talk about information that is available. I had a conversation with Leonard, could have been yesterday, maybe earlier today, that there are obviously various versions of the Constitution. I was consulting my notes this afternoon, and I'm sure I saw in my notes that there's a 2022 version of the Constitution.
Right. I think that's the latest one, isn't it?
I may have, Leonard might have a different view on this. I may not be right, but I was actually searching for a copy that was made by one of the commissioners in a sidebar with me, because I am not electronically savvy, as I said. They gave me, I know I call it one link. It's just something that you set your phone against, and it basically downloads the whole thing. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't quibble over whether there's a 2000 or a 2010 or a 2015 or a 2023. I wouldn't split hairs over that. Except to say that there has been a range of amendments, and whether it is the 2015 Constitution or not, one would need to rest with the range of amendments that were made. All right? I believe when we get areas that people would want to look at, we could do that. What I probably will do, because this would not be confidential information, Mr. Chair, I have a report that I believe it could have been dated back to the last attempt. This one is what, Mr. Chair, 2000?
No,
2012. 2003.
2012.
That might be.
Okay.
Yeah. That might be the last. The last. That might be the previous attempt to the 2022 attempt.
Okay.
Long story short, our mutual friend, Mr. Chair, Carolyn Sandiford, did a very beautiful report in terms of what has been adopted from these, the outputs of these attempted reform efforts, what has been partially addressed and what has not been addressed. That is not state secret. And I intend to send to the panel. It's not state secret. So that when we meet next week, we could see what has been addressed. I don't know if Mr. Brackett has these, but as I said earlier, I am not that conversant with the Constitution. I actually find it, like probably other Constitution, it's laborious to read. So I am no expert in the Constitution. I see things in there that are very, very erudite. My own feeling after reading all the the schedule of recommendations that have been made, my own view is that even when we improve on it, I think that a large percentage of the concerns that we know needs to happen have already been articulated, Mr. Chair. I get a feel that Leonard has some concerns, and I'm sending this to him. I'm sending it to the panel, and I don't know that he has those, or if anybody summarized them the way Ms. Sandiford did. Dr. Vernon and Dr. Young. Dr. Vernon, in my view, both Dr. Young,
before you leave that point with Mr.
are being
Sandiford,
sought after as consultants. Sorry?
Mr. Marvitt, before you leave the point on Ms. Sandiford, I just wanted to point out that each copy of the Constitution, at whatever time it is updated, it always carries a section in there that points out where the original Constitution derived from and all its subsequent amendments up to the point of the last change authorized and printed. So, and that is part of my concern and or my beef all the while through that many changes have been incorporated into our past constitutions, including the current one, that should not have been there, but are now considered as law by even some of the law students and law people and even the judges them, because they happen not to be aware of the fact that the Constitution stipulates that anything that is not done according to the proper procedural is null and void, and nobody challenges those issues, or nobody, whatever. I'm sorry. Go ahead, sir.
I am not really addressing that. I was kind of wrong.
You're breaking up, sir. I'm not hearing you. No, I wasn't hearing you. Maybe the weather.
That could have been considered, or that was incorporated. The notes that I will send to you, gentlemen, has not been incorporated in total. Some of it would have been addressed in amendments. Both the work of Mrs. Sandiford and Dr. Vernon does a very good census of what has been incorporated fully, what has been partially addressed, and what has been not addressed. So I am just telling you the information that I am hoping to pass to you gentlemen should enliven and inform the discussion going forward.
So you've had...
All right. I think sorry, Mr. Chair. I think you've
had
there for now.
No, you've had presentations from Dr. Vernon. I believe that you mean Dylan Vernon.
Yes.
And Harold Young.
Yes, sir.
Harold. Yeah. Did Harold also give a presentation today?
These guys, Mr. Chair, are very, very erudite and learned. Speaking out of school, the last time I saw Harold would have been probably the better part of 25 years ago. Since then, Harold has gone off, and he has gone into academia. He's actually now an associate professor for one of the institutions in various aspects of law. Dylan Vernon also has a very, very impressive resume. And so the commission is asking the government to essentially retain the services of these experts very urgently, because both of these gentlemen are sought after. And we believe that especially Dylan Vernon, who has a part of his DNA, I believe, is in relation to social concerns generally for this country, and definitely has been in relation to reform, including political and constitutional reform. I believe that the me thing met with unanimous support for the government to contract both gentlemen. There's also another gentleman who has an impressive resume with the United Nations that has inputted very, very eruditely in terms of the proceedings. One of the things that has been spoken about publicly when we had the first session at the launch.
You can't remember his name.
I want to give Mr. Chair.
I take it you were. I think so far you're impressed with 4 of them. Certainly, Caroline Trent Sandiford.
Yes, I am. These people are very solid, Mr. Chair. Very, very solid academically, and in terms of their commitment for betterment of the human condition of this nation.
Have we gotten to the point of answering exactly what we're shooting for, what we're hoping to achieve with whatever reform or abolishment or whatever is done to the current constitution? Is there something we're trying to get? Is there really?
I would say, Mr. Chair, it's a huge It's a huge commission.
Yeah, it's a huge undertaking.
It has a broad representation, and I believe that it's a work in progress. It's very dynamic. Nobody's agreeing on everything. I think that there is and perhaps rightly, these and go nowhere.
Let me ask you a question.
So when you see the chairman, Mr. Yes, sir.
No. I don't want to broke you in the middle of your thought. When the Constitution was presented in 1981, now what you're doing now is reforming it and putting it to the people. Was it put to the people back then, or was it just put forward and said, this is the Constitution, we're going to adopt this as the Constitution? Was there a vote on it at that time? I don't recall.
It was a short shift, Mr. Chair. There were 7 consultations. Nobody know how broad these consultations were. Dr. Vernon, in typical academic spiel, just pointed out objectively that given the importance of the Constitution, in his view, it was a short consultation process. In my presentation, I will talk about the role or lack thereof of Her Majesty's loyal opposition, and I will talk about the Constitutional Conference in Britain, and I will talk about the fact that the Constitution was actually passed one day before independence, September 20, 1981. So
you're saying the lack of the opposition at that time in during the pre-independence move, you think there was a lack of participation by the opposition?
Well, they did not. They withdrew from the process but one of the, Mr. Chair, I don't want to prejudice what I'm going to say next week, but really, one of the statements made by the opposition, I guess I don't know if before it withdrew or it registered this concern, and the opposition at that time was Her Majesty's loyal United Democratic Party, was that we should depart from the electoral process of first past the post, who is whoever win get everything, to proportional representation. And I believe my notes, and this comes from Dr. Harold Dr. Vernon, is that I believe that presentation was made by Honorable Philip Wilson, may his soul rest in peace, that we should be looking at proportional representation, keeping in mind that there's a historical context that when we were going into a draft constitution that goes back to 1964, Mr. Chair, remember we get self-government in 64.
Correct.
Mr. Golson, because you remember at one point he was one against.
Correct.
Well, there was a time when the People's United Party won all seats.
Yeah, and he had to be appointed.
And there was a time when Mr. Golson was really a lone voice in the wilderness.
Right.
And so
he was appointed. He was subsequently appointed.
Was not only a patriot, but he was visionary. And I think that him basically saying, man, this formulation that when you win, you basically get 100% of the governance, of the executive governance, will not serve the people well. I don't know that he said that, but I can see where him basically saying, man, make we look on proportional representation as a better fit, I think was visionary.
I've heard the argument though over time. At the end of the day, I think what we want a better governance. First of all, I think we need to understand that.
Yes.
Less corruption, more involvement by the people in the way we are governed, and more input from more consultation on important matters. I don't know if this will be provided for with a shift from what we have first past the post to a proportional representation. Certainly, what has to be looked at now is the disparity between the constituencies, which makes it basically unconstitutional, because the Constitution does call for as equal as possible between and you have they were discussing tonight on the news the difference between Fort George, say for instance, and Sand Creek South. One has a Sand Creek West it is, no? Okay.
Yes, sir.
So I think we have to that part of it, though I don't know if we should is the Constitutional Reform Committee going to be looking at that, at switching maybe to proportional representation? Is that in there at all?
Well, Mr. Chair, the way it works is that the whatever the people bring to the table, I see two parts of it, and this has obviously not been concluded upon. I believe that what needs to be presented to the people should include what it is that we have, broke it down in a layman language, and then we will probably need to inform the people as to what previous efforts were and what the outputs of those efforts were. What has been lacking, Mr. Chair and Mr. Brackett, thus far, nobody has written anything as to why previous processes have failed. Nobody. And that is a critical aspect to me. I think that somebody could write a master's thesis or perhaps a PhD thesis on why our constitutional efforts, including the Belize effort, has failed thus far. To tell you the truth, I was told, well, at the launch, that a number of people, well, a number of political jurisdictions are looking at Belize with hope, because reforming the Constitution has been tried in various countries and it never works. It never works because those people in power will not surrender power.
So do you believe they'll do it here? Are they going to do it?
Well, this is what this is what the Mr. Henry Charles, and I believe even the Prime Minister, said at the launch that they don't want the politicians to be any at all as previous in anything to do with the formulation. They are leaving all of this, all the scheduling, to the political, to the Constitutional Reform Commission. You see,
Yeah,
so they're
but
aware.
yeah. At the end of the day,
You know,
the implementation will be up to them. Can we expect that they are going to be giving up some of that power that they love so much? So are they going to give up the opportunity for the hustling that is so lucrative, that have them living so high above everybody else? Can we expect that they might do that? And a lot of it might be just lip service.
Mr. Chairman,
Sir,
may I?
yes, of course.
Okay. I keep repeating myself ad nauseum in regards to the hopefulness of doing something with our constitution, which could have been done by the empowered legislator as per the constitutional precepts that exist already. They are empowered and authorized and requested to do such. Nevertheless, I keep insisting that the purpose, from what I am aware of as of today that we're having this conversation, for wanting to go into the Constitution in the way they are attempting to do now with a complete Constitutional Reform Commission, is to give cover to some people who wants to, more than anything else, at the end of this process, give themselves what you call cover or immunity.
But you're assuming.
I know you're about to jump on me, Mr. Chairman,
Yeah,
because I'm making statements that you're not aware of.
No. That
But
I'm
I
not
need
aware.
to. You need to give me my chance to make my statement.
Listen to what I'm saying.
Right? You can't cut me short all the time when I try to make a statement.
But how long does it take you to make a statement?
Okay, I promise not to be long. If that is a concern, I promise not to violate that concern or to derogate from that concern.
You're stating an assumption. You can't say that until this is done. How can you say that? You're missing the point.
The same thing you told me the other day.
It doesn't matter. Maybe that's the same thing I mean.
One day before the police officers then came out and acknowledged exactly what I was saying to you. You were telling me I can't say that. Why? Because you don't think that I'm in a position to be able to know what I'm saying as being correct. And you do a disservice because then the knowledge is not imparted. It is being suppressed.
Yes, I just wish I think you need a little humility. That's all I think. But go ahead. Go ahead.
The issues we are dealing with does not call for humility on my part or anybody's part. So we are dealing with serious, major matters.
Go ahead and what you're
saying. For the future generations of our country.
Finish your point.
Yes, sir. What the present? I'm going to be specific now, then, right? Since you took me there, you didn't let me go in the hypothetical. I'm going to be specific. The present government is searching for ways to immune itself from culpability, from accountability, from exercising the powers that are being delegated to it on behalf of the people, to grant the people and give the people better governance. And they are trying to hide behind this commission to, more than anything else, get rid of anything that has to do with Britain and British and clean up our constitution and make it a Republican type constitution, even if we're not a republic yet. What part of that my people does not understand and are unwilling to chew and digest baffles me.
Tell me something. The current government has what? A 26-5 majority, correct? Is that a super majority?
Yes, sir. So once you pass 21, you got a super.
They can do just about what they want to in there.
Be careful, though.
Hardly any
you gotta be careful.
Hardly any opposition. All they have to do is present it in the House as a bill.
Remember, I said to you, even if the government or any group, if the whole country representatives, all 31 of them as 100% of what we have, get together and decide to make certain changes that are not constitutionally correct,
But then they amend the
They can
constitution.
reform.
They can
They
amend
cannot
the
amend the constitution on certain things, which is my point that I'm trying to contend to you. Not because they have 100% or a majority that they can amend just about anything in the constitution. There are certain things that are reserved in the powers of the people.
Leonard, they're getting ready to reform the constitution.
To throw it away.
And
basically.
talk about throwing it away. Yes, they can do that. Why
Sir.
Yeah.
What I'm referring to is section 2 of part 1 of our constitution, which says that anything that the legislator does or any law that they can pass that does not meet muster according to what the constitution requires is null and void. How else can I explain that, to express that, for people to understand what I'm trying to say?
What are you talking about?
Can you
say it again?
Can you expand? Can you expand on that though? I want Leonard to expand on that, because
Let me read it out of the Constitution for you. I'm always asked to cite things and to give the place where those statements. Or
I am asking.
Let me read it for you.
Yeah. Yes.
Let me read it and then expand.
My question to you would be.
I try to see if I could pull it up on my next phone.
Yeah, but you read it, but I am asking you, when you read this, an interpretation of it, right? I am asking you if there's a need to change the constitution to enact or to bring about some change that the current government has. My understanding is that there's a need for a 2/3 majority to amend the constitution.
Which
Chairman basically said
what we have Mr. Margaret, that is not where, that's not my point of contention, sir. I agree with you.
But I'm trying to get your point. But I'm trying to
go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
I'm trying to predicate my question so if and when you respond, you know the context within which I'm asking it.
Please go ahead, sir. Thank you.
They have more than a 2/3 majority. That's the first thing. The second thing that I want to ask, that I will predicate my comment on, is that for a reform of the Constitution, which is not an amendment of the Constitution, for a reform of the Constitution, it needs to go to what you describe as plebiscite. My question to you is, do you believe that the current government does not have the will or the capacity to do what it wants to do, given the fact that the opposition, as we speak, is in disarray and is weak? And if we have another election tomorrow, we will probably end up with a worse result. We'll probably end up with 31 PUPs. So I'm trying to get from you, what is it that you're seeing in the Constitution that you believe could stay the hand of a government that wants to do ill? That is what I'm trying to get from you.
What is section? Because I got a hard copy in front of me. You said a section
Part
2.
1, Section 2.
Part 1, Section 2.
All right, tell me what you said.
Yes, sir. The state and the Constitution. The state and the Constitution.
Right. Part 2. Go ahead. What does it say?
Let me turn this thing sideways so I could enlarge.
This
Constitution is the supreme law of Belize.
Right.
And if any other law is inconsistent, law meaning laws that are made by the government, okay? With this Constitution, that other law shall, to the extent of the inconsistency, be void.
Is that what you're basing your argument on? Is that what you're basing on your argument?
Sir, please, Mr. Margaret, I was posing a question just now, and I need to.
Yes.
It's already recorded. I need to address it.
Yes.
The question you posed was not what I was alluding to when I said that if all 100% of the legislators voted in favor of whatever particular law they want to bring into existence. If that law contravenes the existing constitutional prescripts, that law is null and void.
But we know that.
Wait.
That.
Nevertheless, wait, please, sir. Nevertheless, what you are alluding to when you say they have a majority, which, so long as it's over 21, can have the power to amend 2 sections of the Constitution specifically. One that says that you need to have 1/3, and the other one that says that you can only amend by 2/3. Those are not the things that I was alluding to in my statement, which you were alluding to, and I was trying to explain to you that we didn't need to go there because we all know that those to be the fact. I'm trying to go to another level.
All right.
Yes.
Mr.
Where-
Brackett,
You're saying, Mr. Brackett, that the current administration is trying to use the issue of
Supermajority.
of naming a constitutional reform commission as a cover for what?
Okay, let me be specific then, since your question is specific.
Right.
As a cover for them to actually turn our country into a republic rather than abide by the present constitution under the Commonwealth. Is there something that's missing out from what I'm saying for people not to understand what I'm
but
saying?
they can do that without a constitutional reform commission. They have a supermajority to do it.
They cannot do that with a supermajority is the point I'm trying to get across. I don't know
Brackett,
how is it so difficult.
Can I make can I try
that
to
is
make
not-
a point? Can I
No,
try to
no,
make
but I want to ask Mr. Brackett,
please, go
why is
ahead.
it that they can't? If they take
Because
it
the
to
Constitution
people,
says that
If-
certain
then they
things,
take
certain
it to
things.
the people.
Okay, wait.
They take it to
Hold
what
on.
to start.
Judge. Let me cover this here. Hold on.
Yes.
Mr. Brackett,
Yes, sir.
can they make amendments to the Constitution with a 2/3 majority? Can they?
Yes, certain sections.
So, all
Yes.
right. So, if it's the Constitution that they're changing, that means that the law that they're changing is the Constitution, so they can amend that law.
Sir, that's not my point of contention or debate with you or anybody else. Please don't conflate or mix up things.
But it seems that
I
that's what you're
I
saying.
already conceded that the Constitution says that the legislator is empowered to make laws to govern the country, and they can
Right.
change certain sections of the Constitution, one part of it by
does it say
2/3.
sec- Does it
Just a
say
minute, just a
certain
minute. Let me
sections?
finish my
Does
thought,
it
sir.
say? Does
For
it
the
say
statement.
certain sections? Does it say certain?
Hold it.
Only, are you saying only certain
Why are we
sections?
going to be arguing something that
No, but
you're
I am
trying to have
trying
an
to
argument
get-
with me
I
on
am
something
trying to
that I'm
get the
trying to explain to you
essence.
are the
Mr.
facts.
Mr.
And for whatever
Mr.
reason,
Brackett,
I can't get the point across because there's a
Mr.
resistance.
Brackett, what I am trying to get from you
Yes, sir.
is what is the essence, because you are reading what is clear and plain English to us, section 2.
No.
And my question to you,
There's more than that, sir.
yes, but I'm asking you, what is the essence of the point that you are making? Are they using section 2 as a cover? What this is what I'm trying to get, because this is plain and common language. You cannot make, for example, I spent 26, 27 years in fisheries. The way laws are structured is there's a principal act, and then there are the enabling regulations. And if you do any law, whether it's the regulations or whether it's a principal act, and it's not consistent with the Constitution, the Constitution shall take precedence. What
Right
I'm
on.
trying to get
Correctly.
from you,
Correctly
Mr.
stated.
is what it is in terms of the governance structure that is of concern to you, and I am not getting that. Because when you read this, I'm not getting the point that you're trying to make.
Sir,
Yes.
the Constitution authorizes any government legally established in the country. It authorizes them to make changes according to section 60, 69, well, different sections. It's more than just the part that I read to you just now, okay? It's a lot more than that. But I'm saying to you, the Constitution itself empowers the legislator
Right.
to
Yes.
make laws to govern the country
Yes.
Right.
and to
You know that.
abide by the Constitution unless they amend those portions of the Constitution that they're able to amend within the capacity that they have. If they can come up with 2/3, whether it's half of their group and another group from the opposition or from whoever, so long as they can get 2/3 of the votes, they can amend certain
You're
sections.
repeating yourself.
We know that.
You're repeating
Holy
yourself.
shit. And then why would they ask me the question then?
No,
Why would they ask the question if we
because
really
you're
understand
not-
what I'm talking about?
because
That
you're
doesn't
not-
make sense.
You're not addressing the point that we're raising.
I'm
You
trying to
keep on
explain something to you that you need to be aware of, and you're resisting being aware of it because
You're
it seems like
repeating
it's
yourself.
alien
You're
concept.
repeating yourself. You just want us to know that you're smart and you know this, but you don't know
no,
it.
but
There you go,
meaning,
Mr.
man.
Chairman. There you go, Mr. Chairman.
No, I'm saying.
Do I got to flag you for
you're here.
being out of
Hold on,
order
hold on,
as the
hold on.
chairman?
May I ask you something? May I ask you a question?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please, please.
What
I'm
part of
sorry.
the Constitution that states that the Constitution that the government with a 2/3 majority is confined to only certain sections that can be
The
amended?
Constitution speaks to those things, sir. It says that in certain areas, certain parts of the Constitution can only be changed by 2/3. Do you know that?
Yes.
And certain other sections it says you
that.
cannot change. Sir, please make a finish
know
the
that.
point then, the statement.
But
Certain
what do
other sections it says you can only change those sections by 3/4. Is there a difference between 2/3 and 3/4?
But what
Yes.
does that matter? What does that matter? Well, everybody
It has to matter within the context of what I'm trying to explain to you, sir.
No, it
But-
does. You.
But
Oh,
Mr.
Mr.
Brackett, can I ask you a question?
There
Can I
are
ask you a
different parts
question?
of the
No, no, no,
Constitution
wait,
that
can I
require
ask you a
different,
question?
that have different
Can I ask
requirements
you a
in order to
question?
change them.
Yes, wait, man. We get that. The two variables are 2/3 and 3/4. Can I ask you a question?
There's more. That's my
Wait,
point.
man.
That's what I'm trying to bring to the attention. There's more.
Well, we know,
There's 7
we know,
years and
but
there's
on this
1/3.
particular point, on this particular point of either reforming or amending the Constitution.
Which is a different point. I mean, we're going in a different direction right now, then, right?
No. I'm not going in any different direction. Whether
Okay.
you're amending or whether you're reforming, you either need a 2/3 or a 3/4 majority. My question to you:
That is the purview of the that is the purview, and that is within the context of the legislators.
yes,
I'm
we
saying
know
to you that the legislators
we know
can't make
that,
a law. For example,
but
let
we
me
know
be specific
that-
again. They
but
cannot
we know
make a
that,
law
man.
to derogate
We-
any of your civil rights.
But we know that we are not
Except
there.
in the case of emergency. They are authorized to do that
Lord have
for
mercy.
30 days at a time.
You
No,
understand?
Mr.
what
There are
I'm
different
saying?
parts of the Constitution.
This is a procedural issue you're getting into. I am trying to ask you a mathematical question.
Go ahead, sir.
3/4 of 30. 3/4 of 30 is 4 7s 28. 3/4 of
7 and
30
change. 7 and change.
is 7 and
No.
change.
No, why?
Can we agree that if there's a need to garner 3/4 of the House, the current government has more than 3/4 of the House? Can we agree on that, sir?
But, sir, we don't have an argument on that. You guys are
Very good.
sticking to that
But
and are
then-
hanging
very
on that.
good.
But then don't
All right,
You're
make it
sticking
an
to that and
argument.
hanging on that, and you're not
All right,
you're not
so-
giving any credence to what
Just
else I'm
answer
trying to
the
explain to you.
Just answer the
But
man
I'm asking
question.
you
and
that. So
I did
so-
answer.
So if they have more than 3/4, the current government can do whatever it wants to the Constitution.
No, that's my point.
Why
You're
not?
conflating, sir.
Why not?
And I'm
Because
trying to
why
explain to you
not?
why
On what
should you be
grounds?
conflating when what
On
I'm saying to you,
grounds? Tell me on what grounds they can't. Tell me, sir.
sir.
Yes, man.
Sir.
I ask you.
Okay. I alluded earlier to the fact, and we all understand at least that part of the premise, that the Constitution has different sections that are allowed to be amended under different numbers.
We know that.
Are we agreeable on that
We know
point,
that.
at least as of so far? Yes.
We know that.
Yes.
We have
My
no
next point-
difficulty.
My next point is, even if the present legislator or any other past legislator or future legislator, unless the Constitution is changed,
All right. Unless the Constitution.
let me finish, please. Hold it, Oliver. If they can come up with 100% to vote in the legislature and create a law that is null and void constitutionally and legally,
Is that a
and
part
the
of
court tells
Constitution,
them,
sir?
wait, and the court tells them that that law is null and void,
Uh,
the law has to be struck down or remodeled or remade or reconstituted.
Do you
Yes, but-
understand?
And I'm saying to you that, let me explain to you what I'm trying to say then, because
Yes.
apparently the explanation needs to be heard.
Yes.
If the government makes, for example, a law, let's say, for example, when they did the limitation of the Maritime Areas Act, which the government had done through the legislature with enough votes from both sides of the aisle, people voted in favor of it. That was an illegal law, an unconstitutional act, because they did not follow the precepts and prescripts of the Constitution on how to be able to do that. If you don't follow the rules, you don't get a pass.
Can I make an observation and ask you a question?
Yes, sir, please.
At the time that this was done, the Maritime Areas Act, at the time that it came into effect, I believe the PUPs were in power. They did not have a supermajority. One, so I can see where
they had the acquiescence of the opposition, sir.
Wait, man, I can see where they would recruit the opposition.
Right.
My question to you now, having said that, my question to you, Mr. Brackett, is where in this constitution or any constitution or any amendment that you know of that would support your observation that you need 100% of the legislature?
I did not say you have 100. I did not say you needed. I'm saying even if you had 100% and you don't follow the prescripts, you're still in violation. That's my point.
Yes,
I was taking you to the extreme
so my
when
question
I made
to
that
you,
statement.
So I am asking you a question. Where in the Constitution says that you need 100% compliance? That's my interpretation of what you're saying. What part of the Constitution? It's a very simple question.
Sir, let me say it to you, for example, right now.
Yes. Tell me what part
If
of the
the government makes a law that derogates your civil right, or if the government attempts to derogate your civil rights, okay, they can be found. That's why you have judicial reviews.
Can I say that you're not answering the question directly? Would that be a fair
There's
statement?
a reason why, sir. There's a reason why, because I don't want to be misleading. I don't want to be misleading.
But you're not going to be, if you're not
There's
being,
a need
you're not going to
for
be
knowledge.
misleading.
If people don't understand what's happening, then they're going to run away with whatever, whatever is being said. That sounds good to them, they are run with it. When in fact the laws are the laws.
May I get a word in here? May I get a word?
Asking you, what part of the Constitution talks about 100% compliance?
I did not say anybody need 100%. No, did I say? Okay, no, you're giving me. You open up. Let me go to the answer. No. Let me go to the answer, please.
Yes. All right. Good.
If they don't have a plebiscite on certain issues, for example, the Maritime Areas Act, nobody in the country had voted on that matter, so it remains a null and void law. Even though people are of the belief that because the legislature passed it, it's valid.
But may I make a
that
point?
law that was passed contravenes the schedules. That law that was passed wait, just a minute.
How long is your minute, sir?
Holy Toledo.
Yeah, Holy Toledo, and then what?
The law that was passed contravened the schedules for the delimitation of the boundaries of the country.
But you cannot do a specific thing, man. We're not talking about specific. We're talking about the Constitution, sir. Can you get it?
What do you think I'm talking about, Chairman? Mr. Chairman, do you not understand what I'm talking about?
Wait. May I get a word?
What am I talking about? Am I not talking about the Constitution? Are you not recognizing what I'm talking about?
May I get a word in?
Please, sir, go ahead.
All right, no, please. Just hold on. Hold on. I don't want to divert at all. You have a law.
I was about to make a point.
Can I say something? You have a supreme law of the land with a 2/3 or 3/4 majority. That supreme law of the land can be changed. Do you know they can change the Constitution that takes out that part that says the supreme law?
You're not talking on the level that I'm talking, please.
Oh,
that as a reality.
Oh my God! What do you want?
Please.
What do you want, sir?
You're repeating the same thing about the 2/3 majority and the 3/4 majority and all these other majorities, and I'm trying to explain to you something else that you need to be aware of.
You only listen to yourself, sir. Maybe if you listen to other people, you might hear something else. If you have a supreme law, and it is said that this supreme law can be amended by 3/4 or 2/3 of the people in the House, then they can amend the supreme law, sir.
There are certain schedules in our constitution that cannot be amended by these politicians. That's what I'm trying to explain to you.
Where does it say
our
that?
Constitution is not.
Where does it say that? Simple
No.
question. Where does it say that?
No one will consider any education it is, because we, the people who are supposed to know and pay attention to these things,
the chairman
are
has a
bamboozled.
specific question. He's asking you, Mr. Brackett, a specific question. Where in the Constitution does it say what it needs to say to support your argument? That is what the chairman is asking you. Very straightforward question.
So you're asking me a specific question.
Specific question.
It won't take me a while to go and pull up the damn thing and go search it for you. Okay, so how can I? I know what I read, I know what it is, and I know what I've been arguing about and writing about.
Oh, but only you. You can't
have you read the something that have you read the something that where I sent to you have been appraised and know whether I was right or wrong? You would have been able to have an opportunity to look at the Constitution and see those things rather than know.
But did you look at it? How are you going to argue something that you don't know? You don't know yourself, but you want us to know.
You're presuming that I'm telling you.
Because you cannot tell us.
What I've read.
Obviously, you don't know, or you could tell us.
No, that's what you're hoping that I wouldn't know, because it doesn't serve your purpose for me to appear to know that I know what I'm doing.
If you know, tell us. If you know, tell us.
I'm telling you, and you're resisting.
You're telling us what? Where in
certain part of the Constitution can only be changed with a plebiscite.
Where does it say that?
You don't understand.
Where does it say that?
What part of that statement you don't understand, sir?
Where does it say that?
In Creole or in some other Spanish or some other language?
Where does it say that?
Some parts of the Constitution. Hold it. So I can't give you a whole constitutional review right now.
Boy, I'm asking you for one section. You came to the section that says this Constitution is the supreme law of the land. We know that. We get that. Where hold up.
Sir,
why do you not allow somebody to speak, sir? Why won't you allow somebody else to speak? You're not the only one with a voice. Now listen to me. Where in the Constitution does it say that there are only certain sections that can be amended?
Sir, you need to read the Constitution yourself. If you don't believe what I'm saying,
your answer?
Or if you haven't read it yourself,
is that really your answer? Is that your answer?
Sir, my answer is, if you are familiar with the Constitution, when I'm saying what I'm saying,
I don't care what is and who is.
When I'm saying what I'm saying, you would know whether I'm saying what is true or not.
So now you take out the headphone.
That's my point.
You just want to talk.
If you're familiar with the Constitution, or if you...
That is not an argument, sir. That is not a valid argument.
Sir, without a plebiscite, without a referendum, why do you think they take matters to referendum? Because the legislature is not empowered to deal with referendum matters on its own.
Can a referendum,
you understand that? You understand what that means?
Can a referendum change a law?
Yes.
All right, so then
sometimes some laws are required. Some laws are required to have a referendum. Okay, what the hell the legislator says?
Yes.
No, you're figuring it out, right? You're understanding it now, right?
No, I'm not. Yes. You're not.
Hopefully you will. So far out, I know hear you. Give me a chance to put it back in.
Well, Mr. Chairman,
sorry about that. I knock out the thing out. I mean, just now.
Mr. Chairman,
sir,
may I?
Yes, of course.
What I want to recommend is that may you raise certain questions to Mr. Brackett. The answer that he's giving me in relation to the 2/3 and the 3/4 majority is not factual or convincing in my view. Can we ask Mr. Brackett to perhaps do a little research and come to us next week
with the section
with pointed answers to these questions that we have raised? Because
sir,
what he's saying does not
he's only answering.
It does not address the question.
It doesn't. All it does is tell you that you don't know. I know you don't know, but I don't have to tell you. This is a childish way of arguing, man.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Do you understand what a plebiscite means?
But what does that matter anyway? What I understand?
It does, because I was trying to explain to you certain things about the Constitution that you were adamant about not hearing or listening or understanding. I'm saying to you that no care what the legislators say, even if you have 100% of the legislator, if they make a law and they do not follow the prescripts,
if they do not,
there's a meaning to the word prescripts.
Sir,
the prescripts of the Constitution is what the Constitution requires for a law to be considered
would you
valid.
Shut up for a minute? Would you shut up for a minute?
And not void.
But Mr. Brackett, we have gone over that before, and I indicated to you that I wasn't fully conversant with what the word plebiscite means. All it means is that you will take it to the people.
The people have the power. You cannot derogate the power of the people into the hands of the legislator. The legislator must go to the people and ask for that power.
What do you mean you can't? Why do you think you elect a representative to represent you and make laws on your behalf?
That statement is irrelevant to the point that I'm making or that we are conversing on.
What point are you making? You don't even know what point you're making.
Holy mackerels.
Yeah, holy everything. Holy anything you want. Holy, I wish you would stick
It's one thing to not know, it's another thing to refuse to learn.
Learn from
So first you have to listen before you learn.
No, first you have to know before you teach. First, and you're trying to teach without knowing. You have convinced yourself that you know, but you cannot convince anybody else.
Mr. Chairman.
You don't know. What part of the Constitution, sir, says that you cannot change certain parts of the Constitution? That's a simple question. You can't get more direct than that. All you have to do is say, boy, I don't know. I don't think that's true. But no, you telling me that I have to read my Constitution is not.
You should have done so.
That is not.
If you're going to indulge in a constitutional
do you know what this
argument,
is, boy?
if
Do
you're
you know
going
what this is, boy? Do you
if
know
a person
what
is
this
going
is,
to indulge
boy?
in a constitutional argument, as a matter of fact, lawyers go to court arguing constitutional matters, and one lawyer wins and the other one loses.
You're going off on another tangent. You're going off on another. Answer the
You yourself is saying that the questions that are being posed would require you to be conversant with certain sections of the Constitution that you either cannot find or you're not conversant with.
Well,
so I
that is a false premise, though, Mr. Margaret. Mr. Margaret, that is a false premise. But let me give me a chance to say this.
Finish yet, man. That's not a false premise.
Go ahead. Yeah. Sorry for
that we're asking you that you're not answering. If you're answering these questions, me and the chairman would have
sir, you repeat that over and over, and I'm saying to you that I'm giving you the answer that you refuse to accept. What else can I do?
Right answer. You're giving an answer, but you're not giving an accurate answer. This is all we're saying.
Well, for example, did I not concede it, as far as all of us are aware, that certain parts of the Constitution can be changed with a 2/3 majority? Did I concede that? Because that's a fact.
Old news.
Okay, wait. No, sir. Yes. Don't jump on me, man. Let me finish. Did I not also concede to you, which is also a fact, that certain parts of the Constitution can be changed with a 3/4 majority? Because that's the written fact in the Constitution.
Yes.
There are sections that deals with those 2 points that I just brought up.
That is
and it's in black and white.
Right.
Now, you guys are asking me a question that requires additional
clarification.
Yeah, clarification. But that cannot be done with just one statement like I did earlier with the one statement that I read.
Why
because
not?
It's a cross section. Holy shit. It's a cross section of what you call cross section of sections and subsections of sections, and that it's a whole lot of reading and thinking that I'm trying to say to you guys that because you guys may not have read those things, you can't recognize when I'm stating them.
That's what it is.
Have you read them? Have you followed? Have you guys? Because I wrote these things before.
Have we read what? Have we read what?
The material that I sent you. The material I sent you that I sent you in your inbox. All those things have the citations there.
You're right.
On these points.
I read some of it, But I have read this. I've actually read this from cover to cover, you know.
But then not that he
I've
want you
read this
read
one
that,
cover
that
to
way he
cover.
write.
My question to you, Leonard,
Mr. Chairman, you're being frivolous,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
You're being frivolous.
I am
Yeah,
making
yeah.
my observation would be, Mr. Brackett,
Yes, sir.
and I'm confining this to the Constitution and the Maritime Areas Act, because that is where you basically said that the legislature has
1 point.
fumbled.
That was just 1 point.
Has fumbled.
Go
Hold
ahead.
on, I'm
I'll
gonna
agree with
finish.
you.
I'm gonna finish now.
Yes, sir.
Are you aware that there's an overabundance of liar politicians in the House of Representatives historically for both parties? Are you willing to say, Mr. Brackett, that these learned gentlemen in law from both parties, and we have some of the best lawyers on both sides,
that money can buy?
are you willing to say, and I'm not saying that you're wrong, are you willing to say, sir, that these gentlemen in relation to the Maritime Areas Act actually operated outside of the law?
Yes.
That includes the Constitution? Very good.
Three letters. Yes.
Very good.
I think that's the shortest answer I've ever given. I don't know.
I would want you to explain at some point where they stumbled, and I would want you to quote the section of the law outside of saying they should have gone to a plebiscite.
Correct. Sir,
That's all I want you to do. Tell us what section of the law was violated.
Good
That's
task.
all I want you to do, sir.
Good task. I can also come back again and I'm going to tell you.
Yes. Tell me what section of the law, either the
Wait.
Constitution
Holy
or
mackerel.
the subservient laws to the Constitution. What was violated? That's all I want you to tell.
Sir, when the Constitution says, listen to me now. When the Constitution says shall, it doesn't mean may, could, would, or
my goodness.
might.
Oh, now here we go now.
Okay?
But you, this is where
No. Listen, Mr. Chairman, and stop berating me for what you're not
disrespecting.
Listen so you can learn something.
You are disrespecting people's intelligence. Learn what? That may and shall is different? Is that what you want us to learn? We know that.
Within the context of a constitution, there's a major difference. Other than just the words themselves, there's a major difference. Please. Don't be overbearing like you always accuse me of being. Give me a chance to finish explaining what I was about to try and say. Why I said that. I prefaced what I was about to say for a justifiable reason.
You're not
Please
used
give me
to
a chance.
You're not used to anybody questioning you.
No.
Are you?
No. Right. When the Constitution says shall, especially in the context of having a referendum, it means that the government has no excuse to play a shell game with the public and avoid having a referendum on those matters.
What's the need of that? Why do you think you need to
the law, the Constitution, the highest law of the land requires it.
Right.
And if they do not meet those requirements, then don't have a legitimate law in place. Okay, how many of them put it together?
This is plain English.
Oh, no, they understand. I don't know.
We more than understand what you're saying. My question to you...
I'm saying to you that has happened repeatedly in our country.
Well, my question to you...
The same learned people, the same smart head lawyers, then pull the wool over the eye.
Hold on. Mr. Brackett, hold on.
Yes, sir.
Let me make an observation and then I'll come to it and question. The legislature basically extended the boundaries of Belize in 1991. If you look at the Constitution, Schedule 1, it speaks about what the boundaries of Belize are, Schedule 1. This Constitution, I just want to finish, right? This Constitution also empowers legislators to make amendments to the boundaries of Belize. This is what has informed the Maritime Areas Act. So when they did the Maritime Areas Act, where they declared they extended the territorial sea and they demarcated or they pronounced upon an exclusive economic zone, that is not in the Constitution, but the Constitution empowers them to do that. My question to you, because you said I never comply, my question to you, on the assumption that you are right, my question to you is, given that they did not need to amend the Constitution, my question to you is, what part of the Constitution pronounces on what should go to plebiscite?
Do you
That's
see that
my
same
question
statement
to
you
you.
just made just now, sir? The
Yes.
statement you just made about them amplifying and or derogating from the boundaries of our country.
Yes, sir.
It's specifically one of the points that I'm trying to bring to your attention, which is why I brought up the maritime areas issue. Because these people that we have had as legislators violate our constitution right, left, and center willy-nilly.
I don't
Without any
agree
regards,
with you.
without any
I don't
regards
necessarily agree with you.
to the rights of the people to have a say in those matters.
No, but I'm asking you a specific question. What is it that would require them to have a plebiscite on? The Constitution is not explicit on that particular issue. So I am asking you, in my judgment, it is not. It is
Sir,
basically
okay.
saying that if you wait, man,
I'll ask you a question. Wait, no. You ask a good question, and let me answer that particular question before
Yes,
another one comes up.
Yes, sir.
What part of the Constitution also stipulates the boundaries of the country? And does it not include all the lands and sea and rivers and, well, everything else that is stipulated in there as the boundary of the country?
The short answer to that, it doesn't. It
The
doesn't.
Constitution says what is our boundary, sir.
No. It's not
No,
in
it
here.
does say what is our boundary, okay?
No, all right. So can you write
And
that
it requires
down
it
for
requires
me?
it requires a referendum to have any alteration.
This is what I'm asking you.
Those guys went ahead and altered our borders without a referendum. Is the point that I was trying to
But it
contend
does
earlier
not-
when I said
The
they violate.
Constitution, sir, the Constitution does not require them to have a referendum on changing the border. It's not here. It is not explicit.
Sir,
If they are changing the Constitution,
the
then,
legislator
but they are not
has
changing the
certain
Constitution,
empowerment.
They have an enabling act. They have an enabling act. Sir, it's right here. It's right here. This is
The legislator has empowerment to a certain degree, beyond which the rest of that empowerment is vested and rests in the public or the people of the country. We, the people of Belize.
Yes,
Don't forget what the preamble says.
Past that. My question
No,
to
no,
you,
no. But we need to keep remembering that. We,
Yes.
the people of Belize,
Represented by
in the preamble, authorize and require of anybody that becomes our government to follow those specific
are
stated
you
facts
aware that
in the
there's a
preamble.
referendum act, sir?
I
Mr.
do, sir.
Brackett,
I do, sir.
Are you aware that it speaks to that which must be abided by when it comes to referendum, which is not in here? Are you aware
And
of that?
I'll explain to you. That is specifically the part of the law, the Referendum Act, that was triggered, that was brought into existence and had been tampered with many a times over and over and over to derogate the civil rights of born Belizeans.
Mr. Brackett,
Okay.
can I ask you a question?
Wait. On that point,
can you support-
please, on that point, let me finish my statement. On that point, then they pretend that because of the representation of the People's Act, meddling that they do, authorizes them or allows them to then derogate people's born Belizean human rights and civil rights and constitutional rights. which in itself then becomes what you call a derogation of rights and a null and void law, because that cannot trump the Constitution. The Constitution gets its mandate from the
Mr. Brackett, you know I'm not disagreeing with anything that you're saying.
He's stating
I'm
obvious.
just asking you to be specific.
He's stating.
I am
the
asking
obvious.
you, Mr. Brackett. You know, I respect your opinion. It doesn't mean that I necessarily agree with them. Can I ask you?
But I don't have a problem with that.
Can I
Everybody's
ask
entitled to
you-
an opinion. I'm talking
ask
about
you-
facts.
Can I ask you if you can provide us with the opinion of some legal expert that would be coincident with your views on the illegality of the Maritime Areas Act? Can I ask, because I don't know you as a lawyer.
Sir,
Can
just
I
a minute,
ask
just a
you-
minute, just a minute.
Can I ask you if you can?
No. Wait. If you're not willing, if you're not willing,
Make the man
if you're
talk.
not willing,
Make the man talk, man.
if you're not willing to lend any credence to anything that I've been saying so far, not only tonight,
anything,
but
but
before,
not
in
everything.
regards to this matter,
Not
how do I
everything.
know that spending my time and effort, which I've done in the past,
I
will produce any
Mr.
other
Brackett,
better effects? I've sent to you, good gentlemen. Wait. I have sent to you, good gentlemen, citations from the Constitution, which you guys could have gone and double check yourself.
By the amount of thing you sent to me, I can't read all of that.
I would expect that you would, because that's how you gain knowledge, sir.
But for you, the way you hold
Not
an
from me,
argument
but the
now,
Constitution itself.
no,
You'd have
that-
seen the
no, but for
citations
you
that you're now
are
asking for, and you'd have gone and checked it, right, against the Constitution, and you'd have seen that what I said
Bracket,
is exactly the way it was written in there.
Bracket,
Brackett,
come
But
down to earth.
because I say it,
Come down to earth.
you have a hard time believing it.
No,
But check
because
it for yourself.
you have it, you want, because
I
you
am
say
saying-
we should
Check
believe
it for
it.
yourself.
Mr.
That's all it
Brackett,
takes.
I am saying that if you make a statement, it's an opinion. If you provide supporting evidence, then it's facts. So I am asking you, based on the opinion that you have expressed in relation
So
to the
I've already
Maritime
done
Areas
that, though.
Act,
You did ask me
can
to
you
do the
can
same
you
thing what I
get
don't
any
do.
lawyer? Can you get any legal mind?
No, I don't need a lawyer to explain that to me.
Opinion?
I don't need a lawyer. You see, you set conditions that are beyond reality.
All right.
I read the
You
thing
know what?
myself. I know what it says. And you're asking me because you don't want to believe what I say.
Mr.
Make I go
Brackett,
find a liar and repeat it for me and say it to you.
I
How
want
to
to
that?
believe what you're saying. I want to believe what you're saying. I'm simply asking you for evidence. Like me,
No, sir.
I read certain things in the
Just
Constitution.
take the citations. I mean, at the thing they were right.
Mr.
And
Brackett,
look for it in the Constitution.
Mr.
I
Brackett,
know
can
what
and
you
you got
is
to-
written.
can you read what's on
You
the
got it
screen?
contextualized right there.
Can you read what's on
No,
the screen,
fine.
Mr. Brackett? Can you read what's on the screen? Because this might be where your problem is.
No.
Mr.
No.
Hold up. No, my foot. Hold on. Mr. Brackett is making a mistake by saying that they can't do something instead of saying they're not supposed to. And this might be where the problem is. You might be thinking that they're not, like the Maritime Area Act, you think they might not have supposed to. But
It's
they
an
could.
illegal act. It's an illegal act. That's all I'm saying. They did what they
I'm
did.
asking you, Mr. Brackett, can you get some legal
No,
supporting
sir.
evidence
No, sir.
that it is
How can you
illegal?
get such
No,
a
sir. I will not
statement?
volunteer. I will not volunteer for that task.
Then
Definitely
how
not.
Then
How
I
can you
can't
make
believe
such a
you,
statement?
Mr. Brackett.
Because
I
I don't
can't
need
believe you.
to go hire one liar
No, I
to
will
help
not
your
hire a
cause
lawyer.
of comprehension, understanding, or willingness to accept what you don't currently
Yeah,
accept.
but I am saying,
Judge,
I don't need to do that.
Judge, you're asking the wrong question. This man needs an attorney to hire him because he has all the facts. That's all he's saying. He
No.
needs
No.
You
No,
need to humble
The
yourself
point
a
is,
little bit.
at the court,
You
the point is
think-
that they tell you nothing where the Constitution they say, I don't want me to go get a liar. So going to tell you no, so you could believe because the liar say. Forget that.
We nothing. You
I
tell
don't
me
got no
what you
time to
believe.
waste on that.
You're giving us
Next
your
subject.
opinion. Your opinion means nothing. Your opinion
To you,
means
which is
nothing.
why we're having, which is why the argument is
entitled
becoming
to it.
contentious because you're trying to disprove what I know from what I don't know.
Nobody's trying to
But-
disprove
All you gotta do is
anything.
consult your own Constitution. You have a copyright there in your hand. Read it
what,
for yourself.
what do you want me to
No,
read
make I
in it?
read it and then try to tell you something
What-
where you know accept from me. Read it for
But if-
yourself.
but if
Learn
you-
for yourself. Do
if
your own
you're-
research.
If you're arguing something in
That's
there,
why liars go to law school.
no,
But you-
whoa,
And even then,
Lord,
they lose cases.
Did you come up with that by yourself? Did you
Even,
just
Mr.
come
even
up
then,
with
they lose
that?
cases.
Really?
But the point is, the Constitution says that on certain matters
Where?
there shall be a referendum.
Yes.
Yes,
Shall.
yes, it
Yes,
says
you
that.
know
There's a reason for the word shall.
Where?
Yeah, it
It's
says that.
mandated.
Where does it say?
In some of the same thing where I write you already, sir.
It
No,
says
that's not
Nobody
an
wants to
answer.
read the stuff,
Yeah, and-
Mr. Chairman said that too much we read.
I
Then how the
read it.
hell we have a discussion on matters that require reading to gain knowledge or to gain understanding?
Mr. Man, we
I didn't
said
cross-checking on your own.
you
You have to
said
cross-check on your own. You have to. You can't just take my word like you always say.
No, I am
nobody's
not
going to
taking
take your
word.
word.
Read the stuff in the Constitution for yourself. Do
Yes,
your
but
own
we're
research, or you
asking
might
you,
need to go to a liar and ask a liar.
We're asking
What
you.
in the
No,
Constitution?
go to a
will you
liar.
have us read?
I'll reverse the task on you guys. Go to a liar and ask him if what I
No,
said has anything to do with the Constitution.
but you.
And pay them, give him a retainer's fee
but we don't need to pay
for them to tell you what the answers are.
Mr.
Because
Brackett,
I'm not supposed to be capable of doing
you are
that.
the one who is making a legal argument. You are making a legal argument. You
I'm
have your
making it on the
legal
basis of what I know,
interpretation.
but you guys are refusing to accept that. So
I am
but
go
saying
to
that
somebody else
I
that
don't
have more
know you as a
credibility with you.
liar.
Pay them their fee. No, ask me if you go get one for you and then
No.
make them come and tell you.
I don't
Come on.
know you as a liar. I don't know you as a liar, and you're
I don't have to be
now.
a liar.
But George,
I'm
hold on,
asking
George,
you.
hold on, George, hold on.
It's about knowledge.
Mr.
knowing
Brackett, see,
the
he
subject.
won't let anybody speak. He's having fun with this. That's the way he argues. And then he
No.
argue, you go read it for yourself. It start out by
Well, Mr. Chairman, why wouldn't I say for you to read it for yourself if when I'm trying to tell you
no, because
what I
you
read,
can't tell me if
you
you
don't have no
can't.
credibility for it?
If you
Then
can't
why
tell
should I
me,
be telling you?
hold on. If you can't tell me, then you can't argue it. If I have to go read it for myself, then you can't argue it
But
to
I'm
me.
telling you and you're rebuffing what I'm
No,
telling you because
you
you're saying
must
I don't know what I'm talking about.
Because based
Well,
on
then
you
you have
telling
to
me,
prove that.
hold on, will
Prove
you
that I
shut
don't know
up?
what I'm talking about. Go in the Constitution yourself. Take
Why?
out the part that you think
You,
disprove what I'm
you
saying.
telling me
Argue that
means
point
nothing.
or prove that
You,
point.
who are you? Who are you? What makes you think that by you telling somebody they're supposed to take that as gospel? Who are you again?
That's why I
Who
shouldn't
are
be
you?
advising you right now to go and do your own research.
Answer the question, man. Who are you? That you somebody's supposed to just take your word for what you say.
I'll tell you who I am. Someone who you have no credibility with.
And that is what now?
Good enough for you?
No. What?
All
no.
right. Oh man. Even when I'm agreeing with you, you're still disagreeing with me.
You're not
All
agreeing with
because I
me.
agree with you.
No. See, you're having fun with this, and it's ridiculous.
I have
Because
fun.
it's just-
Yes, I agree with you that I'm having fun because you know
Your argument.
it's one
your
thing when
argument-
people don't know what they're talking about as compared to when they're trying to deny what somebody else knows that they're talking about.
That's
How
factual
does that
basis.
sound to you?
How do we know what you're talking about, or that you know what you're talking about if you cannot
Go
prove
get
it?
your liar, like Mr. Marvin said,
No.
and ask the liar the question
What are you with the
and
time?
believe what the liar tell you. But I'm definitely sure if the liar is worth his salt,
Bracket,
he will tell you exactly what's in the Constitution.
bracket. That you with the talk to another liar, with the talk to you. You are claiming that you know, but
So
you
you
know.
say
but
I have fun, but you try to have fun with me, and that's why I had to laugh.
No, Mr. Brackett. Mr.
Another
Chair, we're
because
not
it's funny.
making any
It's a serious
progress on
subject.
this. I think that
It's a very
I
serious
think that-
subject.
I
in
got
my
better
opinion-
things to do.
I
got
think
better
that
things
in
to
my opinion, Mr. Brackett is evading the question. I don't think he has the answers.
do. He doesn't.
And
Well-
I think that that's further for next week. Perhaps a Captain Sanchez or somebody might weigh in on these issues and be more specific if they can, if these are actually valid. I don't believe what Mr. Brackett is saying, to be frank with you, because I'm no lawyer myself, but I have written law.
You're entitled to your belief, Mr. Marvin. I don't have a problem with that, sir. But for you
yes.
to say that I don't know what I'm talking about because you don't
I
know
am not
or understand
saying
what I'm
that.
talking about.
I am not
That's-
saying that you don't know what
that's
you're
not
talking about.
that's
I am saying that
disingenuous.
I don't have the confidence to believe what you're saying because you're not providing any supporting
Sir.
argument or
Sir.
evidence.
All I
That's
ask of you, Mr. Marvin,
Yes.
look on the material that I've already sent you. Check the citation. Forget about all the other rest of wordings in the essay themselves, right? Look at the parts that have citations take those citations, go into your own copy of your, whether it's hard copy or electronic copy of your Constitution of Belize,
Are you the one
and
who sent
cross-check
it?
them, and see if they are correct.
Are you the one who
Read them,
sent it?
and then go back and reread what I have
Are you-
sent to you, gentlemen.
Are
And you'll
you,
see that they are one and the same, sir.
Mr. Brackett? Are you the
If
one
you
who
don't
sent
have any
these?
credibility, even after that, then
Are you the one?
don't blame me.
Are you the one who sent these things? Are you
I
the
did,
one who
sir.
sent it? So then, if
I
you
did.
can't quote it, how can we?
How many I can't quote it when it's quoted?
You sent it and you don't even know what it is.
Sir,
How can we know what it is?
Sir, if you haven't read the stuff, how
Read
can you
what?
say that I can
Read
quote what is already quoted in the stuff that you need to read?
You have no. You need some argument skills, man. You don't know how to argue.
It's not about argument skill. It's about facts. Deal with the facts as they are, not the way you want them to be.
You need to know.
You refuse to read the stuff, and then you want to argue or have a debate on the matters without, and then trying to impugn the points that I bring up by saying that you believe that I don't know because you don't know, and therefore you don't think that I know, and therefore all that is irrelevant to the facts. The fact remains that.
No. I believe that you don't know because you can't explain it and you can't point to the
How can I explain something to somebody that's cutting me off at every time I open my mouth? Every time I open my mouth, you try to cut me off.
You want to talk. You don't allow nobody to talk. You want to talk.
No, man. No.
But you keep repeating.
I tell you that there are parts of the Constitution that the legislator can't change willy-nilly.
And we ask you where. And we asking you where in the Constitution that is stated.
There is a part of the Constitution that says shall as regards to referendum. Then you say,
and you cannot, you cannot tell us where.
Does that make?
But you cannot tell us where.
There's nothing that I could bring to your attention that makes any sense.
Not if you can't
review it yourself. And all I'm asking of you, review it yourself. Then
not
I
if
tell
you
you the
cannot.
material.
But you just talk and talk. I think you just want to hear yourself. See, you got the thing out your ears because you don't want nobody else.
That's no defense for ignorance, Mr. Chairman. If you don't know, you don't know. Don't accuse somebody else of not knowing because you don't know. That's not a fair approach to a discussion.
Where you get that from? I'm saying, I'm saying you know. I'm saying you cannot.
If you don't know,
but
there's not a crime.
I know now why you don't know because you won't listen.
But you can't accuse somebody of not knowing something that they're trying to explain
I'm
to you.
accusing you of not listening.
Or unwilling
you
to listen.
too damn much. That's all I'm saying. No, go ahead. This is wasting my time, man. I can't. This fella here. I can't. It makes no sense. Simple thing. Simple. And if you need a week to go find
the legislator has to go.
But why won't you let a person
referendum?
Why won't you let a person even? Why won't you even let a person finish a point, sir? Why not? Just a point. One
that's
point.
What you're accusing. That's what you're saying, but that's not true. When I bring up the point that the legislator can do certain things, you try to tell me that they can, and I'm telling you that they can't.
I'm not telling you they can. I'm saying show me where they can.
You try to conflate what you're saying to me because they have a super majority that they can arbitrarily and capriciously derogate any kind of rights within the Constitution. The Constitution says that is null and void.
Do you think if you talk all day makes you right? That's what you think?
No, sir. The Constitution is speaking for itself.
No.
If you read the thing, you know that. But you know, I read all that information. It's too much.
Mr. Chairman,
it's too overbearing.
Can I suggest, Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
Can I suggest that we reflect on what we want to address next week?
That would be nice if we were to be able to.
Yeah, I believe I would suggest, Mr. Chair, that in terms of order, we deal with the format that I was suggesting. One, give me 10 minutes to do a presentation. Two, I will be sending to you gentlemen the feedback from previous efforts. And I would do that because there are concerns being registered. And perhaps what I will send you might be a context for people to more efficiently make their inputs in terms of perhaps ideas and changes that they want to see.
May I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Now, these are previous efforts at reforming the Constitution. Is that what it is?
Yes, it is, Mr. Chair.
There were efforts.
It's really succinctly put together It's no lot of verbiage. It's really just a matrix that says, this is what was proposed, this is what was adopted, this is what was not adopted. It's really easy. It's just one-liners.
But
It's
were
like maybe
these
31-liners.
were these attempts at reforming the Constitution or making amendments to the Constitution?
That's a very good question. I don't know. I know a part of it, according to Dr. Vernon, was constitutional reform. I don't think that any of the efforts was simply to amend the Constitution, because you don't necessarily need a commission to do that.
Right.
An amendment might be one or two, or just a small snippet of the Constitution.
Right.
And all that you need is what we have said, some
Two-thirds or
majority in the
three-fourths,
House,
yeah.
because they have amended the Constitution before. So I don't hold me to it, but I suspect that all the previous efforts have been to reform the Constitution.
No, all right. The question would be then: have there been previous committees established?
Yes, sir,
Reform.
and that will be a part of my presentation.
All right, good.
Right?
All right. Yeah, I understand.
But I'm just trying to provide further,
right,
so that we can have a constructive engagement next week.
Yeah.
And we would obviously have a section for questions also.
Can I ask you? Can I ask you a favor? That if you come with an argument about a specific part in the Constitution, that you bring a reference to that part, that you can support that argument with your
Mr. Chair, my presentation will not even go into any content of the Constitution.
Okay.
I think that, and I'm saying this, Mr. Chair, because I don't know that this is a forum that you can go to section 5, subsection 3. I think that what has been captured are very broad recommendations, Mr. Chair, and I'll give you one. One of them was for an elected Senate. That's just one line. And then it goes on to say, not adopted. Another one was need to rein in the power of ministers. You understand me?
Not adopted.
So it's not really extensive writ. So I might just read through just a small sample of them, which is not the Constitution, but the comments. And then when I've made my presentation, then I think we should have the freedom of people kind of participating whichever way they want to. I gather from Mr. Brackett that he likes to write these things. I would preferably like to see him summarize his thoughts on what he's writing, but that's for him to answer. I am hoping that Mr. Brackett and all the other panelists could make their interventions in whatever way they see. I am hoping that we could get
Captain Sanchez.
We have to indicate to Captain Sanchez that we have actually rescheduled our presentation.
I think that was
his availability.
Oh, good. You also said you had a couple of other people that you were thinking about inviting.
Yes, that I was going to send to you because we have to send it to CY.
Yeah, CY has to do that. Yeah.
Right. So I'll get those to you, Mr. Chair, maybe by tomorrow. So that we don't have to wait till next week.
But I would have to go to CY anyway. So why don't you just send them to CY, and then I think what he will do usually is consult the rest of the panelists to see if all of us are in agreement with doing that. No, as there are 4 of us. Usually, I hope Mr. Morrison comes in next week. I imagine he might have called in and made I've made something. Yeah, my camera is gone. Okay. Yeah. But certainly, listen. This is an important topic. I think we should discuss it some more.
Yes.
I think again though that if we're going to point out what the Constitution says or doesn't say, then we have to be able, because we can't argue if we don't know it ourselves.
Yes.
We have to be able to say, boy, it says so. And just as we went to section 2 and realized that the Constitution is the supreme law of the land, we can go.
my observation to you, Mr. Chair, is that you have to be very resolute in how you manage the time and the inputs, because we could get in a circular arguments.
And I think that happened.
I have to left that to you.
But and you call me chairman, but this is a democratic process here, and I really think that all of us have to take the responsibility to play our own respective roles and do what we can to make this flow in a more just a more comprehensive and orderly way.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Chairman? Yes, Mr. Brackett.
I was about to contribute something on that same thought that you was projecting just now, and that is to say, sometimes when we have difference of perspectives or opinions, we have to give each other leeway, because it's a person's perspective and a person's opinion. How informed that perspective or opinion is another issue. But then for us to be saying that, well, the person doesn't know what they're talking about just because maybe someone may not know or may not like what the person is saying or for whatever reasons, right? I'm saying that we cannot just be dismissing each other's input or perspective on the basis of, because I don't know, well, I don't think you should know, or you should know, or because you're bringing up something new that I'm not familiar with, that I should just, I don't want to hear it, or I don't want to be bothered with it because it's not germane to my understanding of what things are. Rather than that, what we could do is then, if something comes up that a person may not be familiar with, or they could just go back and do their research. Preferably, the research should be done before we have the program, which is how I thought, we should have been operating. But again, that's my thoughts, my opinion. It would be nice for us to, like, for example, this time we said that we were going to discuss on the Constitution, that people would have come prepared to have a discussion on the Constitution, or the merits of changing or not changing the Constitution wholesale or partially. Now, those are germane ideas that we could have been discussing, rather than just to say, well, I am making a statement based on what I know, and because that statement is not germane to the thoughts or the knowledge of other people, then it should be dismissed. That's been disingenuous to me, or it will be disingenuous to whoever else on the panel that is attempting to convey those thoughts. We are on the panel because we're not there just to open the mouth and just say things because we have a pair of lips. We're there to contribute, hopefully positive and informative information that could be of some public benefits or public good. Now, I know that everybody is not a lawyer. I'm not a lawyer, but I'm a person that is versed in various aspects of the law, including international law. But that's neither here nor there as a reality. The fact is that because I speak to these things and I speak to them in a forceful or vehement way, it sounds like I'm trying to browbeat people or force people to accept. No, I'm not trying to browbeat or force people to accept my thoughts or my ideas, because I could be wrong for all you know. Of course, you don't expect me to say that, because at the end of the day, knowledge is knowledge. But it's only the context of that knowledge is based on whose knowledge it is that you're talking about. My knowledge, your knowledge, his knowledge, their knowledge, and everybody have a vantage point from which they perceive these things and their realities. My contribution in this constitutional issue is that I have been beating the drum on some of these particular points for eons. And I have written on them and cited these particular citations. And I would hope that when I do send those citations out, or those items out, that people at least would, give me the courtesy of at least reading the thing before they argue against it and try, dismiss it or belittle me for not being able to write there and then at the point of the question provide the answer when the answer was already provided in lengthy dissertations. It doesn't do justice or fairness to me or the public, because the public needs this information. We should be discussing that information. And like we said, the issue of the constitution of our country it should be of paramount importance. It's the lifeblood of the country, but it's imbued with that lifeblood from we, the people of Belize. And when we, the people of Belize, have our rights derogated willy-nilly by people who presumably we have given the honor to serve as our government or our governance position, then we have a right. The court recognizes that we have a right to come to the court to see to it that whatever, as through a judicial review, whatever the government does, if it's not done right and follow the right prescripts according to the Constitution, then they could be found, the whole government could be found in contempt. And as a matter of fact, be ruled against. Oh, sorry. Somebody else.
No, well, I don't want to cut you off, Mr. Brackett.
No, I'm going long. Wait.
No.
Go ahead.
I had my say. It's 9 o'clock. And I was just, I think we're winding down, and I just think that we're not on procedural matters, and I don't know that we want to go back into the dissertation and the Constitution or anything like that. I was going to suggest to to the chair that, and the chair did make, I think, a very valuable suggestion that we have a responsibility also as panelists, but I know in a Zoom meeting, and this is another Zoom platform, you have an option for raise your hand. So, and I guess all of us are guilty of it because it's a very dynamic forum. But I don't know if CY could maybe have some aspect to this where we can raise our hand electronically so that we don't interrupt one another indelicately and unnecessarily. You know, I don't know if CY can do that, because me doing this, hello, that's, you know, I've seen better, I've seen more effective technological interventions.
But that can work. Can you hear me? Am I being heard?
Yes, sir.
I seem to have lost my camera. But yeah, to have raised your, except for me now, with no camera right now. I think raising hands, what is necessary is that we respect each other's views. And Mr. Brackett, it's not that nobody wants to hear what you say, but I just believe that if you are going to cite something, you must be able to support it with the reference to that matter that you're citing. To just say that we should know because you know, or we should know because we should know that you know, or we should know because you sent it to us on some other forum, I think it's unfair. Really, there's so many things I need to read on a regular basis. I really don't have the time. And to be honest with you, you know, there are many other things that come in my inbox and my stuff that, you know, you have to kind of like prioritize. Now figure the ones that you really want to. I think you need to also give us credit for being a little bit intelligent and might know a little bit of something with self. You might not think we know as much as you. You might not think we read as much as you. But I tell you, I can speak for George. I know that George has been out there in the public service and has seen and know a bit about how governments work and should work. There's also a matter of is and ought. We know what ought to be, but we also know what is. And is that a reality that we're dealing with here? There's a lot of things the government needs to do, and there's some things they ought not to do that they're doing. But the fact is that it is what it is. And what we're doing here is trying to highlight some of those issues and see what we can do to make a suggestion to make it better. No? That's it for me. I'm good. Fellas,
very good, Mr. Chair.
I move that we postpone until next week.
I second your motion, sir.
So,
and I turn the motion.
One question. Next week, how is it set up for next week now? We're expecting to have our guest on next week program, right? And Mr. Marbit is still going to take his 10 minutes to give us his preface. And then after that,
Hello.
We'll have a
Good night.
open
Good night. Good
discussion.
night.
What is this setup for parameters?
Good night. Good night. Good night.
Good night. Good night.
Good night,
Okay.
Mr. Young.
We will make sure everybody's informed of what's happening for next week, because there might be more than one person on the panel, according to what Mr. George was saying. So during the week we go get together and we gonna see, because I could have as many as 10 people. I'm not saying we're gonna have 10, but we might have 6 or something like that. So before the next weekend, we're gonna discuss that. We're gonna get together.
See why?
Mr.
See why? Can I ask?
One second,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Gregory said he was in a meeting, right? But he said it to me. I will have him sort of to let the whole panel know what's happening. He got to let everybody know, not just only me.
That's all
I
right.
think it's fair to be, because if he could text me, he could text everybody. So what you said, Mr. George? What you said, George?
Mr. Chair, Mr. CY, question to you. I got some of my OGs there, in the United States especially, were interested, but they don't necessarily need to be guests. I saw one of the inputs made by my friend Sammy Gentle, but he's not a guest per se. He's
No,
just
not
a
really, not really.
audience. So my question to you is whether if we send some, if you could then just send the link to them as
Yes.
you could send the link to them as an audience. Then I'm not guest, but then not just audience.
Can you type in?
Can it work that way?
Say that too. Okay.
No, I'm just asking a question. Are they asking a question?
I don't know.
That's been done already, Mr.
I
Mavic.
could do that.
Mr. Young is doing that already. Every week,
Okay, sir.
when he makes his postings, there's like 25, 50 people sometime, that is being notified.
All right, very good. Very
But
good.
you just have to add the names.
So
You just have to give me the names
You
you
have to
want.
give him the names.
Yeah, you got to give me the names who you
All
want me to add. Okay.
Do I need to give you like just the people in a messenger, or can I give you messenger on WhatsApp where I have?
You give me
how
whichever one you want. You give me, because I could reach them.
Okay.
George,
Okay, my brother.
George,
Have a blessed night.
George, do you have you're on Facebook, right?
Yes.
I believe you could share the link also on your Facebook page, and they could view it from the Facebook
What
page.
I usually share it on your page too. So if somebody's watching your page, they will know that it's on too. When I share it to your page too. But you just got to make sure the people who you want to know, to tell them,
Send a link.
You can send me the information.
I usually repost it after Mr. Young sends it to me. I usually repost it.
You're alive too.
Yes, sir. I usually repost it to my community.
Gentlemen,
Yeah, exactly.
all right.
Mr.
That's
Brackett
what
posted
Mr. Young.
Yeah. Okay, my brother. Have a blessed night, man.
take care, everybody.
God bless.
Take care, everybody.
Okay.
Next week, guys.
All right.
Respect.
Next week, guys.
Next week.
Okay. Good night.
Yeah, all right.